welcome in Norway. My name is Antoine Aymer. I'm the global CTO for Sogeti, Quality Engineering and Testing, which is an amazing topic, amazing industry. We've been doing it for the last 25 years. So I want to bring you to a topic, and I wish I had 3 hours with you. The good news is I only have 20 minutes, but I have the whole afternoon and evening to discuss this topic with you. And I've gone through, in the last 6 months, a lot of different workshops, a lot of different discussions, extremely insightful. We talked a few months ago about GenAI, ChatGPT and others that hallucinates. I think it's our turn to hallucinate a little bit with asking generative AI to do a lot of different things, including coffee sometimes. But I think we need to tamp a little bit down the excitement and really have a more, concrete and tangible way of approaching it. So the first thing, right, is I will bring you to actually exploring deep sea, not generative AI straight away. And the point behind it is we've been, as humankind, extremely captivated by deep sea, what lies underneath the sea. And I bring you back in 1932, where two scientists from Great Britain invented this bathysphere, which allowed them in 1932 to reach a depth of over 900 meters in 1932. But they did it with a lot of exploration, a lot of attempts. And yes, there was a lot of challenges that they were conscious about. The water pressure, the quality of the elements to be using to create it. And yet they reached, after a few years of experiment, an amazing success. Imagine in 1932 reaching a depth of 900 meters. The analogy with generative AI is that I think we are equally captivated by generative AI. I mean, it's the first system ever that's been able to crack the human language. However, the thing that we're not conscious compared to deep sea exploration is the issues, the challenges around us. We go deep dive because there's a huge perception of simplicity. However, there's unknowns around that. The first thing is large language systems, LLM, are not knowledge systems, which most technology know already, meaning that the quality of the response is not obvious. It's not always going to be there. The quality of the response is not guaranteed to be high all the time. And because it's based on a probabilistic system, the output might deviate from one input to another. So now if we think about applying it in the context of IT, and especially QE&T, where we care less about the creativity than more about the reasoning aspect, how do we make it really happen? Right? So we really need to understand, okay, we are not here to create emails, we are not here to create nice poems or nice things, nice articles. We are here to use it to reason and to help us generate things for us. Obviously, there are data privacy concerns, for sure, that everybody's trying, but I want really all of us to be conscious of the potential dangers around that in terms of ethics, in terms of security as well, and also in terms of these are probabilistic systems, not deterministic systems. Okay, now I'll take it a very simple view again because I only have 20 minutes. I'll get the helicopter view. So there are 3 things that we have to bear in mind when we're approaching GenAI. The first thing is the destination. The destination is our use case. In QE&T, it will be, I want to generate test cases. I want to generate knowledge. I want to generate documentation. I want to generate a script. So on and so forth. This is the use case that we are applying. Now, the engine behind it, the powerhouse, is the LLM itself, whether it's ChatGPT, Vectrex, Bedrock, it doesn't really matter which one. We are using it, sometimes pre-trained, sometimes not. What we are often overlooking here is the fuel to the engine that will lead to the destination. The fuel are the prompts. And crafting prompts, prompt engineering, actually is really hard. Because that's the only way where we can actually get to the destination. Right? There's a lot of talks today around the LLM and the power of the LLM, which is interesting, but for us, this is also extremely critical. to lead to the destination. So, obviously, there's always one element that comes in all discussions that I'm sure we're going to have later today, is trust. Where can I start my experiment, okay, in my context of QE&T, of testing, and what is the use case? What is a good use case? Because potentially, and this is what we've done in the next slide, we have assessed over 50 number of use cases where we think GenAI, generative AI, can actually be very useful. But is it really the case today? Because again, I'm not in the creativity mode aspect. I am asking GenAI to help me reason and accelerate the reasoning part of it. So yes, you see test design, and we know in Sogeti TMAP we have more than 10 different design techniques to generate test cases. What if we make them accessible? There are also things around automation testing, right? And this is actually a start we created about 4 months ago. And we know now that certain use cases are not yet achievable. So anything to do with automation testing, maybe around test environment, is a little bit more complex and requires more integrations with an ecosystem. So for now, we really started at Sogeti to focus on that specific aspect for 2 reasons. Why? Because there's a cascade effect. If test design is done well, chances are that the rest of the effort on testing is going to be much higher. And the second reason why we're also focusing on test design first, not just because we are knowing and we are very well experienced on these techniques, because they are all recognized methods and text-based. So this is now where I want to bring you in real life, okay? I've seen a lot of presentations, a lot of different slides, but I want to show you that concrete thing. So this is a real-life experiment that we did with one of our customers. And this is too small. Okay. So when we start employing testing, for sake of a better word, in one of our customers, we start with the test strategy, right? And I will really focus on something very simple. This is actually on tmap.net. So if you want to take pictures, rather go on Sogeti or tmap.net. It's easier. You have a wealth of contents there. The first way of the vast majority of people, unfortunately, are not applying techniques. They are saying, well, to generate test cases, I will assess my incoming files, which are specs, mostly user stories, and then I transform them into test cases. So for now, I will do as many are doing. So I will try generate test cases based on a user story, okay? This is the concrete story that we went with one of our customers. So what is the first way of starting GenAI? Well, I open my browser and I type a very simple prompt. Okay, very simple. How many have you started to do this, exactly that sentence or something like that? Have you already started? Yes. Okay. Well, a few, only 3 or 4. I was expecting a little bit more. All right. So what is written here is clear for me, not for the people at the end of the room. Act as a testing expert and generate test cases from a user story. So I created a user story, and then I assessed the result of the prompt. What matters to me is not just, wow, it can do things, is this of quality? Can I see myself using it in real life? Okay? So what we did here, and I won't go too much in depth here, but we assessed with experts, and I used the App Store rating, you can see here, star rating. We assess, okay, is it good enough? Can we really see ourselves using it? Simple sentence. And well, I was sharing earlier, there's too much deviation here, so every time I was, regenerating, it was not just good enough, and there was lack of terminology, there was lack of expertise into it. Again, it shows that there's a limit behind what we call knowledge of the system. So what we did is said, well, we need to explore it further. So we enhanced the prompt that you saw before, now reaching 9 times more words, 93 words, and we added a few more things, because again, we know as domain experts what we should be adding. So here we added for each requirement, draft valid test cases to confirm correct behavior, and a few other things, including of user interactions, because sometimes GenAI was explaining to me what I was doing, And I said, I don't need to have, I just want to have the test cases. That's all I want. And then we assess the result here. And again, it's truncated because otherwise I have to use 3 floors to do that. And then we assess the result of the output. Slightly better in quality, slightly better. But still deviation was far too high. I know even if as a tester, we might, if we are given in this room like the same user stories, we might end up with different test cases for sure. But from the system, I'm expecting a little bit less deviation. And the terminology was not great. There was lack of actual versus expected, which is one of the fundamental aspects we're expecting in test cases. And a few things were unclear. Boundary testing test cases were unclear as well. So what we did is we further enhanced the prompt. Right? And obviously, if you don't read it, you don't need glasses, it's on purpose. Okay. So what do we have inside it? We realized that GenAI needs further instructions in terms of format, style, what it is that I want the structure of the output. So there's a few things here. I want to add more domain terminology. For instance, test data, boundary conditions. What do I have else? And then I also have like tone, style, intent, goal. What is the directive for AI behavior? Because we assume here, I have my professional instructions and I know how to talk to you. But GenAI doesn't know, right? Even if it's pre-trained, pre-training goes with data, but all of these reasoning aspects is actually things that we'll have to instruct and give it to him. Was it good? So we went from 93 words to 400 words, okay? And the result is a bit gray here. I can tell you, a little bit better, another star, okay? But I'm not downloading a 3-star app, to be honest. So I will not go with that prompt as well. So deviation was still a little bit too high, and there was things that are missing. So I'm also expecting to have like a CSV file or a Jira file with a nice table that I can customize depending on the way I work for the test cases. So what we did, boom. So this prompt was actually crafted with very advanced prompt engineers. It's extremely rigorous. There's no duplicated instructions. It has examples. It goes more in terms of the guidelines to create test cases, specifications for AI, guidelines to ensure high readability of test cases, because, again, it's a system that's interesting, but I want to be able to review it. If it's a mess, then it might be great, but I need to review it as a human being. Also, what are the final directive in terms of I want an executive summary, I want a description of the test cases in an English way, or maybe Norwegian way, it doesn't really matter. And also I want this table that I'm able to prove and maybe integrate with my system, with my test management system. But then, okay, so we actually got a very nice output here, This is just, a screenshot from GenAI. It's not something that I created myself, okay? So this is it. Much better. And now the table is full here, right? So I've got a nice, clean table, exactly as I want. Is it good enough? What do you think? Well, not really. So actually, the test cases that I had here were much better quality. However, we lost coverage and precision compared to the other prompt. So we started to understand, okay, well, what's happening here? So the instruction is very clean. You can't miss it. If you give this to a human tester, it's very clear. However, GenAI, the task is too big for it to be extreme to provide good quality. So after hours of experiment, we realized that if we split this one prompt into 2 prompts, focus on valid functional test cases and one exclusively working on invalid functional test cases, we identify that the result was much better. Much, much better. 4 stars. We're not there yet. Okay, 3, 4 stars here was even better. We probably doubled the number of negative functional test cases better. Here, I was not entirely satisfied by one thing, is the depth of coverage. So here what we did in valid test cases, we divided this prompt into two other prompts, happy pass and boundary test cases. And then, and you can see it here with the number of test cases, and I'm not sharing the whole, I'm not sharing everything here on the screen, but the result was much, much better, okay? Almost no deviation. So our threshold in terms of quality output is 80%, okay? It will never be 100%. It will never replace us for now, okay? But the good thing is we need, as domain experts, to also know what to judge. Is the output of good quality? We need to know it. So there's even more pressure on us to be educated to understand, is it good test cases? Meaning that it cannot replace us. We need to be the one saying, these are good output. There's another element behind it, which actually went a little bit down in the last few months, is the cost element. 2 months ago, the cost of running these huge prompts was $2.5. It means $2.5 for happy pass for one user story. Now you multiply by all the things you have at scale. This is massive. Now it has a little bit diminished 2 weeks ago with the whole announcement. Now it's only 12 cents of euros, okay? But still 12 cents if you multiply by the number of test cases that you have, the number of user stories. Let's be cautious that we're not trapped in a, let's move to the cloud and then getting the huge bill from the cloud. We also have to be cautious about every interaction is costly. So what we did as well, because the cost is based on the number of characters, for sake of a better word, tokens in the back, we find a way to reduce the amount of words to reduce the overall bill. So transforming these big prompts here in a much smaller one with the most advanced techniques that exist on prompt engineering. Okay, so 2 different ways of structuring prompts, the fuel to the engine, okay? And it's new, I can tell you, it's new for our entire industry. It's really, really complex. There's an element of extreme simplicity. We perceive that it's a sentence, that's it. But when we apply it in our IT domain, where we are applying reasoning techniques, reasoning methodologies, it's a little bit more complex than it seems. Okay, so what we're doing now, and I will go a little bit faster, what we've learned from this experiment, because everything was for me to share with you, okay, how to get started. So first, prompts needs to be crafted with the same expertise as code. Prompt is code. Prompt is IP. Because we can save so much time. Imagine that you're saving 50%, and I'm not sharing any numbers because we don't know yet, right? Prompt will be IP. To know what to ask for is also an art. We are, in this room, domain expert. We know what is a good output. What we don't know is how to craft prompts. Prompt crafting and using GenAI will include 2 people working together, a prompt engineer and a domain expert. But I can tell you this is still a very much volatile system. And I was sharing with some of my colleagues, sometimes we are confronted by the limits of generative AI in terms of its ability to reason, not create, reason. So now, because this is extremely interesting, and now we are moving, we have started to transform team-up design techniques very easily with prompts. We are able right now to approach a JMeter script from a test case. Right? So it's really coming. So we are really working on it. What we realize is that our domain in QE&T, we are not going to stop today just because there's GenAI. We have to continue working on what we do, right? We are working on quality. So to make it very simple, what we are working here, and you've heard GitHub Copilot, so there's also going to be a Sogeti Copilot, okay? The Sogeti Copilot will really focus on the core testing activities that we are struggling with today in terms of timing. So team-up design technique from Sogeti that I'm hoping most of you are aware of are going to be transformed in that Copilot Hub. And I will provide a bit of a demo now, which are prepared. So this is, okay, all right, let me put it full screen. Okay, can I do this? No, oh, that's really bad. Okay, so this is the first interface of the Copilot. What we are doing now in this platform that will be available in our delivery engagement is we are applying this for the day of an agile team. So we are helping the product owner start by, let's say, from a Teams discussion, from a transcript, from a diagram, I'm able to create requirements. I'm able to refine my requirements. I'm able to transform my requirements into user stories. All of that are very concrete use cases that we have already embedded in the platform. So there's more things around design, but in terms of testing, here I've already prepared it. The idea is I want to use one of the elements, the prompt that I've shared in the system, right? And we've made it easy. We have pre-crafted a large number of prompts that we are hiding in that platforms. So when I have let's say, an input user story, which I have here, right? I've asked it to actually generate happy past test cases, okay? And now this is what is available right from the platform. So we are removing the pain of having to prompt and know what to ask for. That's the whole idea behind that platform, is we are making access to GenAI very easy, removing the need for crafting extensive, complicated prompts, because it's a new technology, and really applying it for the need of the quality engineers. And I really wanted to end with that real, tangible aspect. This is not a hypothetical value for us. We are already embracing GenAI in QE&T with that Copilot. Okay? So I've shared a few use cases, and we are expanding. Obviously, there are requests around, what if I can accelerate Selenium scripts, or UFT script, or Tosca script, whatever. So we are working on this. Again, the idea is to make it really simple. Go from test case, generate it, and you, as an expert, you decide whether the output is good or bad. Augmenting us, not replacing us.
So now I'm coming in as an input. This solution, when we're using this kind of solution, is it safe when you're putting this kind of information in the system?
Yeah, so what we've done is we are developing it on primarily Azure platform and connecting primarily again with OpenAI. So first, secure in terms of trust. It's secure because it's not going to be in our Azure environment. It's going to be in our customer's environment. And also one thing that I've not mentioned is LLM are not all equals in the ability to provide output. So there's another element. So security, it's handled on Azure, and we are going to provide that. But in terms of LLM, again, if you send an instructions to a LLM, you might not get the same response from another one. And that's also another layer of complexity that, to be honest, we don't have to deal with in QE&T.
So my last question, I think everybody is thinking about this one. So where to start with generative AI?
All right, so I want to share you exactly what we went through. First is forget about technology first. It sounds surprising. Let's focus on really something that you are struggling with. And here, we started with test design. We have to document in very much atomic granular step an activity, a problem that you are facing. From this problem, when it's really well documented, we can then turn it into prompts and then to the overall value that we can get here. But it's really problem-centric, and you have to take an activity and document it as if you had to explain it to your grandkid or to a 7-year-old kid. And this is the way it has to be driven. Challenge first, document it, then prompts, and then we see with the LLM. In a very pragmatic way. Not forget about the technology first. That's my main advice.
So thank you. You're out of time.
Am I?
Yeah. Here's a little gift for you. Chocolate from Norway. Thank you so much.
Thank you.